Welcome back, focused learners, to another deep dive. Today, we're unpacking something truly massive, like cosmic framework massive. We're doing a completely neutral, step-by-step explainer on Chapter 8 of Ryuho Okawa's text about Lamu. The chapter is literally called The Secret of Human Creation, and let me tell you, it lays out this incredible, multi-layered mythology about how souls are created, tested, and evolved all across the universe. It's essentially a giant architectural blueprint for spiritual evolution. So let's break this down so you can see exactly what this text is proposing. Okay, so right off the bat, let's ground ourselves in the source material. We're looking at The True Heart of Lamu by Ryuho Okawa. And just a quick reminder, for the purposes of this explainer, we're staying completely impartial, right? We're not here to debate the religious tenets. We're just here to explore the sheer scale of this narrative. Because according to the book, the figure of Lamu is being channeled to reveal this hidden history. And it goes way, way beyond early human history. We're talking cosmic, metaphysical levels, mapping out how an unseen world supposedly runs our physical one. Here's our roadmap for making sense of all these concepts. First, Lamu as creator. Then, the birth of life. Next, molds and reincarnation. After that, interplanetary soul transfers. And finally, humanity's infinite potential. All right, Section 1, Lamu as creator, the cosmic keymaster. You know, usually when we hear about ancient kings, they're just historical rulers of lost continents, right? But this text does something totally different. It positions Lamu as a spiritual creator who actually governs Earth's development. And they introduce this really fascinating term for him, the keymaster. So what exactly is a keymaster? Well, in this context, it's an entity who basically holds the access codes to the cosmos. By using this spiritual key, they can literally open doors between different dimensions and even different planets. The text mentions that while this entity has lived on other planets before, his current gig, his main responsibility right now, is managing the spiritual evolution and all the ongoing experiments right here on Earth. Moving on to Section 2, the birth of life, solar energy and vessels. So now that we know who's in charge, how does the text actually explain life physically starting on Earth? Well, it brilliantly blends spiritual intention with physical biology. According to the book, the absolute foundation of biological life is solar energy. Step 1, plants capture that raw sunlight. Step 2, they convert it. And the source uses these really specific terms, calling this converted energy gasoline or coal. Then, Step 3, animals come along, eat those plants, and essentially consume that organic gasoline to build up their vitality and their physical bodies. It's the biological food chain we all know, sure, but framed here as a deliberate mechanism designed by the creator to fuel the physical energy needed for spiritual vessels. Okay, Section 3, molds and reincarnation. Let's look at the evolution of the soul. So, to make the huge jump from basic animal vitality to complex human consciousness, this mythology introduces a really specific mechanism. It's an esoteric concept called the human mold, or egata in the original Japanese. The text argues that as spiritual energy inhabited animal forms, those forms started to evolve. Over a long period of time, as that animal-based energy developed, these human molds were created. And once you have these physical and spiritual templates set up, boom, you can start creating brand new souls that originate directly from Earth. It's basically this evolutionary pipeline where biological life is upgraded into vessels that can actually hold higher human consciousness. And when it comes to explaining how these souls actually experience reincarnation, the text uses this incredibly vivid metaphor. Just listen to this. When you pull up a sweet potato or a potato, there are many attached. What hangs down is one person, but to those who understand the whole, it is the majority. Think about that visual for a second. A single human lifetime, like you right now, is described as just one potato hanging off this massive hidden root system. To you, you're just one person. But the true overarching soul is the entire vine underneath the surface, made up of a majority of these completely distinct life experiences. So the really crucial point here is how that potato vine is actually grown. The text breaks down the earthly reincarnation cycle as this highly deliberate process of gathering diverse experiences. A single energy body might spend roughly 2,000 years in reincarnation, and during that massive span of time, the soul alternates, being born male, then female, experiencing life with extreme privilege as nobility, and then coming back as a struggling commoner. The entire goal is to force the soul to see the world from literally every possible angle, building up this incredibly diverse, multifaceted collective soul. It's basically a super intensive 2,000-year empathy training program. But it's not all just upward progress. The source material neutrally points out the harsher realities of the creator's management style, detailing what it calls soul destruction experiments. According to Lamu, evolution naturally involves trial, error, and, yeah, sometimes regression. So when creations failed to evolve or adapt the way they were supposed to, the creator would essentially scrap them. The text actually uses a phrase that translates to discarding them in bulk, literally terminating entire evolutionary branches just to keep the overall experiment moving forward.
That brings us to Section 4, Interplanetary Soul Transfers, Cosmic Reincarnation.
Up until now, we've only been talking about the microscale, right? Earthly rebirth. But the text aggressively expands this mythology to a macro, cosmic scale, introducing interplanetary reincarnation. And this isn't just about sending Earth souls away. It's actually about Earth accepting souls from completely different planets so they can join in on this grand evolutionary experiment. It envisions Earth as this giant cosmic melting pot, taking in extraterrestrial souls and training them right alongside the ones that were born here. Now, what's really fascinating here is the sharp contrast the text draws between these two types of reincarnation. Earthly reincarnation, like we just talked about, is all about social and empathetic evolution, changing your gender, your wealth, your status, but always within the exact same world. Interplanetary reincarnation, on the other hand, is about radical physical adaptation. The text notes that if you move a soul to a completely new planet, you have to create a body that suits that alien environment. The physical shape of the being has to fundamentally change just to survive the new conditions. So we're talking about evolution on a galactic scale, all overseen by the same keymaster. And finally, Section 5, Humanity's Infinite Potential, Expanding Awareness. So having laid out this massive cosmic architecture, from plants turning sunlight into gasoline, all the way to Earth accepting souls from across the galaxy, the text brings it all home with a philosophical thesis about our future. Lamu gives this core warning to modern humanity. Human potential is infinite. But as long as you do not elevate your power of recognition beyond what you can currently imagine, there is no development. Basically, the source is arguing that we are operating at a tiny fraction of our true capability. Our evolution is directly tied to this power of recognition, our ability to comprehend a reality that's way bigger than our immediate physical world. If we stay locked into narrow, earthly perspectives, our spiritual progress is just going to stall out entirely. Which leaves us with a really provocative thought to end on today. Based on this massive mythos we just explored, if our earthly lives are really just single nodes, just single potatoes on a cosmic vine stretching across planets and dimensions, what hidden reality are we currently failing to imagine next? It's a compelling question, and it completely challenges the limits of human awareness, which is exactly what the source material is trying to do. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into Chapter 8. And hey, keep expanding that power of recognition.